Okay.
All right.
Sorry, I was
It's
being
okay.
stalked
You know what?
by.
We're both learning about this thing going.
Yeah,
Anyway.
StreamYard.
Okay, so I was saying you were asking me like how did I get started? So
Yeah, yeah.
basically, tried and don't let me like go on a tangent because I can talk forever. I will totally
I got
sit
nothing
here
else to do on Friday. It's my
I will
life.
fucking Greg Brady the shit out of you. Okay. So,
Greg
um,
Brady. People are like, "Who's Greg Brady?"
I know they can go watch the episodes and watch how the kids got disciplined.
Anyways,
Um,
yeah.
so I have a Lithuanian background, and that's where that comes from. Although I've been told that I have it on my father's side too.
hmm
I don't know, but that's where like all the tower readers and stuff like that. So even though we went,
Lithuania.
huh?
That's a very foreign country. Not too many. I don't know too many people. I know one girl, one lady who's from there. It's is that's close to like that's like part of Transylvania and Romania and all those area.
Lithuania, it's like I think it's an independent country. From where is it above? Let me look. It's I don't know. It's over there though.
Lots
I
of
want to say
gypsies.
that it's right
Lots.
next to. I want to say it's right next to Russia. I know it's right next to
Uh-huh.
Russia, but
Mm.
it's a small independent country. Yeah, way north, Lithuania. But the other side of me is like Belgian French
Oh,
and
cool.
Italian. So that's
Oh,
what.
wow.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
my.
strong genetic codes you got in there.
Yeah. So I got family from up in Tuscany, and some from Sicily. And my great grandmother, she grew up on the east coast of Italy, and in I forget the name of the mountains, but she grew up by those mountains. Anyway, so just growing up, it was always around like tower readers and fucking psychics and all that shit. They were just friends of my mom. She went to acting school, and then she met more people that were like into the same shit. And we always were doing like ghosts. We always had ghosts around the house, lots of shadow people, and just crazy shit. So I remember this one time, like me and my brother, he was 8 years older than me, and every once in a while we would get along. And there was this one night we were standing. The way the house was situated is the front door, and then there was a big living room next to it, and then there were stairs going up to a landing where to the well, if I'm looking this way, to the right was my parents' room, and then to the left it was me and my brother. And we like heard some weird noise. And we both came out of our room and we went over to the banister, and we were looking down by the front door, and there's a window that went to our outside into the front of our house. And we were both just like, what the fuck is that? It was like this green light. And he was like, do you see something? And I go, yeah. He goes, so do I. He goes, which window? And I was like, that one right there. He goes, is it green? I go, yeah. He goes, that's the fucking green man. Like it was in the shape of a man, right?
Uh-huh.
But it was like doing one of these numbers. Like it was really bright green, and it was just standing at the light at the window, like looking in the house. It was so fucking weird. And we have both had seen it once before, like standing in the backyard. Have no idea what it was. Weird shit in the house used to always happen. Toilets flushing, showers turning on, just whatever. And then there was this one time I woke up in the middle of the night, and I don't know why, for some reason I got out of bed and I went and I laid behind my door. And I did that sometimes because it felt like safe, because if anybody was going to come in the door, like anybody, then I would feel the door move like while I was sleeping. So I would sometimes take a stuffed animal and sleep behind the door. And I woke up, and I still remember to this day, it was so fucking crazy. I looked up, and at the crack, because the door wasn't shut all the way, so you could see like that crack,
Mm-hmm.
like a fucking eyeball, just an eyeball. Like someone had plucked it out and just stuck it in there like a ping pong ball. It just stuck in the crack of the door, looking down at me. And I was fucking freaked out. I started screaming and crying. Ah! And I covered my eyes. And I was like, I know it's going to be gone, because that's usually what happens. And I looked, and it was still fucking there. And I was like, you better cut it out, Julian. That was my brother. And I went and I looked, and there was nobody there. And I was like, I know it's you. And I went in, and he was dead to the world. He was dead asleep. And I was like, this is weird. And I went back and laid back down there and I went to sleep. And a couple of hours later, I woke up again and it was there again. And this time I screamed as loud as I could and was crying. And I was like covering my eyes. Next thing you know, my mother came into the room. She was like, what's the matter? What are you doing over here? And I was like, the eyeball. It was crazy, right? So it was always crazy shit like that. When I was 2, apparently that's when I saw my first ghost. My mom said when I was 2, I had an imaginary friend. And that's why I won't remember it, because you don't get memory until 3, because that's when the hippocampus is fully formed. But she said that I had this friend and I would always go around and play with the friend. They never thought about it, right? Because kids all the time, they get imaginary friends. It's no big deal. I would talk to this person and play with them like in front of my mom. She'd be like, who are you talking to? I'm talking to a friend. All right. And then just over time, she kept catching me, like having these very lucid conversations. And she was like, who are you talking to? And I was like, friend. She was like, who is it? Like, what is it? It's my friend. What's their name? They said their name is Friend. And I would be like, he's a big man. And, he comes and he plays with me. And, we just hang out, and talk and whatever. And sometimes he comes, sometimes he goes. He was like coming in and out from the closet. My mom didn't know what to think. She was like, okay, well, it is what it is. So then my uncle comes down from New York, and because we were living in Maryland at the time, and he brings a photo album. Now, my mom never had any photos up or anything like that of family, but when he opened it up, we came across the picture of my pop who had died before I was born. And I said, oh, that's my friend. I'd never seen a picture of him before. And I said, that's my friend. And my mom was like, holy fuck, that's my dad. So, I mean, ever since then, it's just been some crazy experiences between her and between me. There was this one time when and I don't mean to talk so much.
No, I brought you here to talk. So talk.
There was this one time when my mom, she was going to acting school in Washington, D.C. And she had made a couple of friends and they all came to the house all the time to eat and drink after class or whatever, just to hang out. And one of them, I remember this one guy, he was a tarot reader. He was real, I think he was like the first witch, person, not like even in my family. Like we always talked about witches and now it's a slur, but gypsies and everything, because it was said that my family had this bloodline into the Roma. And that's why I'm trying to I want to verify that, from what I hear and stuff, it makes sense. But, you definitely want to have that. You don't want to be claiming something if you're not sure. Right. So anyway, he was always really good too at putting people into these hypnotic trances and taking them on a past life regression type of thing. And he would come over and he would do this a lot. My mom, he did it with my mom. She had people over, and then we ended up going to someone else's house, and then someone else's house, and then someone else's house. You know how that shit goes, right? And so he's doing it all the time. And then one day he comes over and he was like, do you want to go with me to this place, Carol? It's somewhere in Maryland. It was like a camp. And she was like, okay, what are we doing? He's like, we're going to go on an investigation for spirits and stuff. So supposedly they're having all this mischievous type of shit going on. And, they thought that it might be these little fairies or something, right? Said that people have seen things and they were very short, almost like a leprechaun type of look when people seen it. One time they experimented, they left cookies out in a locked room and they made sure that nobody went in there. And then everybody left locked up, right? They kept the camera in there. And they came back the next morning and the cookies were gone or something, right? And they couldn't see anything on the camera, but nobody had been in there. The alarm had shown that nobody had logged in or logged out to open or whatever, right? But they came in and the fucking cookies are gone. So guys all right, it sounds like with all the mischievousness that you got some kind of fairy folk. So they were bring Aline because they like children. So she's there, she might attract it, right? Not knowing that I'm bait. So he's like, come with me. It was him and somebody else. They were like, let's go take a walk in the woods. And I'm like, all right, So we go out in the back and we go walking in the woods. And he's like, okay. He goes, stay right by my side. He goes, don't leave. Okay. Don't wander off. If you see something, I want you to tell me. I want you to yell as loud as you can. Right. I'm like, okay, whatever. Right. So we're in the woods walking around. It's Maryland, so it's like this everywhere. And I'm just like, blah, blah, blah. Like, and they're looking around and they're trying to do whatever it is that they're doing. And all of a sudden I turn around and I'm looking at the forest and I'm like, wow, it's so pretty, right? And I'm just kind of like taking it in. And then all of a sudden I noticed like the top of the trees like started to disappear. Like when you have a gray sky outside and it's just kind of like white paper. Well, that's what it was like, all starting to disappear. And I was like, that's weird. And then like all the rest of the whole scenery just started doing this like shift, this white, like it was snowing. I don't know. It was weird. I just remember it just all going away. And then
It fogged out kind of.
Yeah, but it was weird. It was like it wasn't even like a mist or a fog was even there. It just it looked like that, right? But there was no smoke and it was just disappearing. And then all of a sudden this large, very large, tall like shadow appeared. And I was like, wow, that's really big. And then I was thinking, like, I think I might be seeing something. And I think I even said that. And then all of a sudden it started to pop off like this, like it was a tower. And it was just, and I'm like, what is that? And it like, they started to like form, right? Like popping off of this tower. And I go, I think I see something. They're like, what do you see? And I was like, it all went away and there's a tall shadow and they all jumped off. And I started running towards it going like over here. And they grabbed me and they ran me out of the forest. And I was like, wait, what is that? Right? Like it's starting to form. Like we're going to get to see what it is. Right. And they like, were like, holy shit. And they took me and left out. And they were like, that was fairy folk. They were coming to form a circle. And I remember him telling me like the fairy folk, they will form a circle and they're really affinitive to like children, especially. And what they do is they lure you into this circle. And if you go into this circle, then they can take you into their like dimension and you will just disappear. Like you would just fucking disappear. Excuse my mouth. And they return you, but it could be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And he said, and you come back and you won't even age. Well, you won't age. So you'll be coming back 30 years and you're like
the same age you left.
Yeah. Thinking that it's the same day.
I wonder if there's actually like documentation of people who had missing children 30 years later, they come, or maybe they just,
I
like
doubt it. I mean, I doubt it. Right. So that's the myth. That's what he was saying. What would happen? Do you ever really come back? I mean,
I don't think so. I think they're going to eat your ass.
I mean, how, right?
Are they?
I don't even know if that ever happened to somebody. Jesus. I mean, there's tons of movies about it.
No, I know that the Fae aren't something that people think they're like little Tinkerbell shit, because I've experienced a little bit of them too. Like they would come in my pictures and they were these little tiny gremlin looking things. And it was weird because in my picture, like in my old house, I had lots of spirits too and weird creatures coming to me when you're young. You just, especially if it's in you, they come.
Right, exactly.
But in my picture, this was when I was an adult. When my houses had lots of forest area around me, things would go missing. They always took my chapstick. I don't know why. My chapsticks were always gone. And but I was taking pictures, and on my bed I had a mirror above the bed, like as the the bed board. And I took a picture of my little puppy, and behind my puppy I was like, what the fuck is that? And he was sitting beside my puppy facing the mirror, but he was not, like, there was no reflection. Like the reflection was like he was looking at me, even though it should be like the other way.
Yeah.
I wish I had that. Like it's on my old phone. I was like, that's a fucking Fae. Like that's a little
right. It's crazy, isn't it? We have tons of pictures with shit in it.
There is. I always go through my pictures, guys. If you guys take pictures, go through your pictures, blow them up, because you never know what you're gonna get in there.
Look at them like in a negative sometimes.
Yeah, or different colors and different colors.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was what he had said. Like, what really would have happened?
Yes, that is Scarlet Bales. Sorry, someone said, "Is that Scarlet Bales?" Yes, it is.
But yeah, I probably would have been left or whatever. But it was weird. I will never forget it. It was a very tall shadow, like 7 feet, and then it just in like increments of like 2 or 3 feet just started popping off.
So they used you for bait, and then for what though? Like
to confirm what he thought. He thought it was fairy folk that was playing tricks on this particular camp.
Oh, okay.
And so he was trying to figure out what kind of protection he needed to put around the perimeter of the yard so that they wouldn't come in and like mess with stuff. So,
Or take your children.
Right. So I guess this is
So did they try to make contact with you after that? Like, because you kind of were introduced to them in the forest, or did they put protection around you? Like, what happened after that?
Nothing that I remember. He might have done something, and I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, all I know is that he picked me up. I was telling him, and I was walking towards it.
Go to the light.
Right? He didn't want me walking and stepping in the circle.
Oh
but
my God.
Yeah, they ran me out of there, and they were like, "Okay, it's fairy folk." They put me in the car, and I wasn't allowed to get back out. They were like, "You have to stay here." I was like, "Okay." I was young. I was really little. I was only like 4 or 5. But I had awareness of all that, of ghosts and spirits and stuff like that, and the ESP that me and my mother was having. I mean, we would literally talk to each other in our heads, or we would, especially calling each other. Like, that was a big one. Like, I could think about her, and then she would call, or I would hear her calling me, or she would hear me calling her from another room, but I hadn't said anything. That happened to me at Six Flags. She was worried about me because I was like 12 or 13. We went to Six Flags with my mom and my dad and me, and they went in to go get the food. He's like, "She'll be fine. She'll be out here watching the flume, right? We could see her from there." And I guess she was worried about me so much, but I was watching the flume ride, the little log thing going in the water, and I heard Aline, and I turned around, and I was like, "What?" And she was inside. Like, it was her. I heard her say my name, and she came out, and I was just like, "I heard you calling me." She's like, "Yeah, I was really worried about you." But
I have the same connection with my mother, and I really wish she wasn't so brainwashed into Christianity, because she's so powerful and she has so many abilities.
Yeah.
She, like, if I want something for dinner and I'm thinking I want my mom to cook me something for dinner, she'll go out and get the shit. And she's like, "I'm cooking this for dinner. Come on over." Like,
that is so funny. My son did that one time, right? Because they know about it.
Yeah.
And he had to be like 5 or 6. He was so fucking cute. Nate came home from the store, and he pulls out these 2 boxes of Cookie Crisp, and my littlest son, Vinny, he goes, "Oh, I told you to do that." He was like, "What do you mean you told me that?" He goes, "I sat in here when I heard that you were going to the store going, 'Buy Cookie Crisp, Dad, buy Cookie Crisp.' And you came home with 2 boxes." Good job.
Yeah.
So,
it happens.
Yeah. But it just continued. I mean, let's see, after that, then I, as I got older, it just got more intense, really.
Let's hear some scary stuff. When did you start to connect with demonic, and like, what was your first like experience with and who was it?
Okay, so more like, who was the first demonic that I intentionally was supposed to be?
Well, intentionally.
Okay, because let me tell you this. Let me tell you what happened to me. Okay, so we moved into a house in New York over on Benra Street, and this fucking place had a portal in it.
Okay.
Even the people that were renting from us downstairs were good friends with my dad, who were very like straight edge people. Like, they were totally like, they didn't believe in anything, right? With ghosts or nothing. Like, they were just people, our tenants downstairs, and they saw shit. They woke up one night to a man standing in their doorway that had no feet, and it freaked them the fuck out. One time I came home, and me and my mom went shopping, and when I first started talking to Lucifer, probably it was like around 13 or 14, I had handwritten like a pact that I wanted to make with him. I was so mad and angry at that time in my life. And I guess, with this house being a fucking portal, maybe he was contacting me, and maybe, I don't know. But that's probably the first. It wasn't even Lucifer specifically. It was like, I'm going to make a pact with the devil. You're 14, you're in pain, you're fucking being traumatized or whatever. And you're like, "Oh,
yep.
You know what I'm saying?" So it was like one of those. And then my mom found it. She was upset, and I was like, "Fuck, I burned it." Right.
My mom's found shit like that too.
And I was just like, whatever. But anyway, so a few days, like after all of that happened, we come home from food shopping and she takes the bags into the kitchen, which is all the way in the back of the house. And there's a window that looks out into my backyard. And she looks out the window at the sink. She's like tips over and she goes, Aline, one of your friends are in the backyard. They're back here on a bike. And I'm like, a bike? I'm like 16 or something, or maybe, yeah, like 15 or 16. I'm like, who's riding a bike? I'm like, okay. So I go in the back and we're looking out the window and he's like this on his bike. But I can't see his face. I can just see it's a boy on a bike with black hair.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm like knocking on the window. I'm like, hey, who are you? Right? Not answering, not turning around, not doing any, not moving, not doing a goddamn thing. I'm like screaming on the window. Hey, I'm pounding. I'm trying to get the nails out so I can open it up. By the time I get the nails out and I flip the thing and I'm about to open it and be like, who the fuck are you? Right? Because he's not answering me at all. He takes off from the side of the house. Now, mind you, the house is like kitchen, living room, and then a TV room, and then the front door. And in all of these, there's windows. So I'm watching him go out through the back, and then he goes down the side of the house, and I'm watching him riding his bike. Still can't see his face, right? And I'm like, hey, who are you, right? Then I go into like the dining area, watching him, hey, right? I'm trying to make it to the front door. And finally, like as soon as he hits the last window, I open the door and there's no one fucking there. There's nobody riding down the street this way. There's no one down that alley where he just came between the two houses. Nobody.
Wow.
And so that always made me wonder, like, well, they say that Lucifer sometimes will appear as a child, or whatever, a boy, I'm like wondering if that has anything to do with it. But that house had a lot of fucking crazy ass shit.
That's crazy.
Oh my God. There was so much stuff that went on in that house. There was growling in the house. I mean, when we moved out of the house, when we moved in there were certain things wrong with the house. Like it was, the walls were stained and some of the shade was stained. This was left from the other people. So of course, when we came in, we like renovated the whole basement, made an apartment. They painted everything. They put fucking wallpaper up everywhere, whatever, right? By the time when we moved out of that house, it was gorgeous. It was so pretty. It was like satin wallpaper and they had suede wallpaper. I mean, it was really pretty inside. Redid a lot of stuff. But when we were moving out of there, the house was like reverting. All of a sudden, the wallpaper started to curl off of the walls. Some of the
they didn't want you to go.
It was reverting to when it was what it looked like when we first moved in there. That's the crazy. Light in there just started getting dimmer. Like stains started showing up like on the shades and stuff. It was so fucking weird.
That is weird.
Yeah. I've had and then okay, so fast forward. I know you're like, get to the fucking point. Okay, so I have been like trying to divorce myself from the Catholic religion for a long time. And I always knew that the left-hand path, and I was a darker aspect, and I had friends that were into the left-hand path when I was in the Army. I think that was kind of my first real introduction to anybody that would even do anything with the left-hand path. It was with a good friend of mine. Her name is Debbie. And she used to tell me all the time about evoking demonics and stuff like that. And that's probably when I first started really working with any kind of demonic stuff. She's a Scottish witch, and she's the godmother to both of my children. She lives in Virginia, and I think really there wasn't really a first specific person at that point. Azazel came up for me a lot, and just the essence of, I guess, the left-hand path. And then I really divorced myself from the Roman Catholic thing finally when I was stationed in Washington State. And I came across these group of people on some pro boards forum, and they were all like Setian and Luciferian and all different types of, some people didn't believe any of that, and they were just specifically like void type of people, and so that was when I really started evoking and playing with the darker aspects of everything, and that was a lot of fun. And then somebody threw Coedding's books at me, and then I read what was the first one that I read? Oh, it was fucking Evoking Eternity.
Mm-hmm.
So I used that book and uh, didn't like path work it or follow through, but that's where I was introduced to like really started looking at Azazel and
Mm-hmm.
learning how to like you know evoke him, like how to do this relationship. Because before it was more broader than that when I was working with Debbie.
Mm-hmm.
She worked with Tiamat. That's who
Mm-hmm.
she really worked with a lot. And I guess that's who I guess I would have to say then I guess who I worked with first is Tiamat.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting more into this. But when I started doing demonics, the first thing I started doing was this mirror meditations. I used to have this thing about mirrors. If I look myself too long in the face in the mirror, I feel like I fall out of my body. It used to scare me. And then just out of conversation with people, I said, all right, I'm gonna do this fucking mirror thing. I'm gonna see what happens, right? So one of my friends from the Void people, he was like, get some bowls of water and a black candle and put your hands in the water. It'll be a good conduit. And I said, okay. So I did that. And I called to the Void, and the Void would show up in this purple light. And then the next time I did it, I was like, showing my demonic self. And then it did, like it took my face and it transformed it. It was crazy looking. And then another time I went in there and I just went, show me. And a fucking ghoul like popped up in my mirror. It was so crazy looking because I was sitting in front of the mirror and you should be seeing your own reflection. But what I'm actually seeing is this ghoul that looks like something out of a movie. Like I couldn't believe it. I was blown away. I mean, you can only have so many experiences.
A lot of time you forget too about some experiences,
Yeah, but I mean, after so many times that you experience things, you're going to say they're real,
Oh
whatever it
yeah.
is. Okay. However it manifests for you,
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of people that say things like, it's just a figment of your imagination. Maybe I am projecting it into the mirror because we can make ourselves hallucinate with the neurotransmitters that get stimulated with whatever, extra dopamine. It's going to make you psychotic. You know what I'm saying? So you'll start hallucinating. I don't know. Maybe that's what's happening in my brain, right? Maybe I'm meditating and my brain's going, ready for your flood of dopamine so you can see, right? Who knows? I don't know. I can't say, but
Yeah, but a lot of people have the same experience too, looking through in the mirror. Like I used to look in the mirror and I would see my demonic self so quickly. I was like, "What the fuck is that? What the fuck
and
is
really that's the
what?"
easiest, right? Because you're really only accessing and pulling down and becoming aware of something that you already are.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing the demonic selves and the transformations in that with your eyes visually, externally, it's always amazing,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But
It is.
when you start seeing other shit, like I did a pact with the Grimoire Verum. I did a lot. I did the whole thing, right? I
Mm-hmm.
did exactly how it wanted it, right? I got all of my supplies from Jake Stratton Kent because he's got the tree in the back where he cuts for you, and it's a very complicated process to be doing the mixtures for the herbs because you got to do it on a specific time, and then I did it, and I had somebody with me that this time in the mirror, same mirror that I use. And in the Grimoire Verum, when you're doing your pact, you got to call three people. You got to call the gatekeeper, you got to call the assistant, and then you got to call the demonic. And then you present them with the pact.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, there's a lot more involved in that. Okay, this is the down and dirty. But that night when I did that ritual with the person standing behind me as like the assistant person, whatever, I called these three entities forward and they showed up. And I was like, how many people do you see in the mirror? He says, three. And that's exactly how many there were. Okay. Where do you see them? I see one right there, and one right there. The one that's right there, tell me what he looks like. Brown curly hair, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? And I'll be damned. He was seeing the same thing that I was seeing, right? So that they must exist
Mm-hmm.
because if it was something that was made in my mind, then there would be differences on how he would perceive that.
That's right.
But they're showing up exactly looking the same and in the same position, he's seeing what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So they exist on some level. And some of us have the ability to tap into these crossroads,
Mm-hmm.
and some of us don't. And some of us have the ability to hear them or to see them or to communicate with them or to only download their gnosis so that they can spread it to the masses or whatever. But, you know, you can only have so many experiences before you can sit here and say that they're not real. You know, it's just, but for me, in my experience that I still have, these things are very real. They're very externally real for me.
Tell me about the story. I heard you talk about the one time when Azazel grabbed you in the forest.
So when I was living in Washington, there was a shirt I borrowed a somebody's like what is it called? The RV, like what is it? A fifth
Mm-hmm.
vehicle when you have to attach it.
Yeah,
I think it's
trailer.
yeah, it's like a trailer, but it's like the ones that pop out, and it's. I was like in transition from moving from one apartment to the other, and they're like, "Oh, you could stay in the RV, you know, over at the campground
Mm-hmm.
until it's ready." And I was like, "Sweet." So I went over there and I was doing rituals outside because I was like, I'm right outside. And this is on McCord Air Force Base. Or no, I'm sorry. Yes, McCord. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
McCord Air Force Base. So their campground for the RVs is like ridiculously beautiful. It's in like these tall red trees and stuff. It's so great.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go behind there late at night, 10 o'clock or something like that. I'd light a fire. And I did this ritual. I would do these rituals. And this one time I evoked Azazel, and this
Mm-hmm.
is when I was doing a lot of heavy work with him and everything. And I said, "Show me that you're here." And I was like looking out in the forest. And all of a sudden, on my back, I felt 10 digits go like that across my whole back. And it was just like the hands, they felt
Big.
big. It felt big. And it went from one side to the other side, and it was just continuous. It was weird. It was just
I
he
can
just
feel it.
yeah, he just touched my back, and it was like I turned around. Of course, there's nobody there, right? There's nothing there that could possibly have touched me like that,
Yeah.
but he did. You know, it was like this physical imprinting of fingers on my back. Yeah.
And it's funny because it's and you know the difference between demonic spirit and like a ghost. You know what I mean? There's some kind of there's a connection. There's a like a realization that this is not just a ghost or this isn't just something.
Yeah,
This is
because ghosts, you know, these entities, you know, they're ancient, number one, and number two, that they're their own intelligent consciousness.
Mhm.
You know, so it's if consciousness is the soul, then you know, they have that. They have just that forever intelligence and individual consciousness. Ghosts, I don't know if ghosts really have that. Like ghosts are more of like an impression
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
what they were, you
What
know.
they were.
So
Yeah.
I think that's why it's a little bit harder, maybe, to you know work with ghosts or whatever, or to communicate with them. Some of them don't even realize that they're dead or that they're like stuck in a pattern or something like
Yeah.
that. So, you know, there's like different types and different levels, I think, that there is with ghosts. You know, sometimes they say that ghosts, I guess, can turn into a demonic. I don't know about that, but or if that's just something that I've picked up along the way of watching movies. But I mean, it could very well be. But yeah,
I think they're more like I know that they're afraid. I know I've had spirits and I'm like, I'm gonna call in Pazuzu. They're like, no. And I'm
mhm,
like, why? Because they're food for them.
yeah, you
They'll
know,
eat them.
and
And
that's exactly what Debbie used to say, my son's
mhm.
godmother. If she would, and that's what she kind of taught me. She goes, "You eat the energy of the ghost,
Yep.
and that's how you get rid of it."
And they run. And that's why when people come and they have hauntings or poltergeists and they ask me for advice, I said, just you need to summon up a very powerful entity and offer them as an offering. And most likely when those spirit they're gonna cause havoc before you do that because they're scared because they know if like Belial comes in there and you offer him up as an offering, he's gonna absorb that
Yeah.
energy for you.
We don't have too much of a problem with ghosts here because I guess our temple, maybe.
Neither do I.
Before, I mean, our house, the way that we had our house built, so it's new construction. So we had the opportunity to come and consecrate the grounds, and then as they did the building, to put marks within the structural, to do rituals within the layering of the house and everything, you know. So
Sorry, my cat just opened up my closet. All I hear is creak. I'm like, already?
Aw,
Sorry, go on.
it's okay. So we had the opportunity to really like tie in the four thrones into the home. So it's very
Yeah.
protected, you know, and each room kind of has its own theme, or it will have its own theme. We're still, you know, moving in and everything, having it designed, but each room is going to be dedicated to one of the spirits.
Dope.
So,
That's what I wanted, you know.
yeah.
There was actually somebody on here that wanted to know about the Four Thrones. Uh, Tartax list says, I'm interested in hearing about Scarlet and sorry, Nate's Order of Four Thrones or something. Are you still
Sure.
there? Yeah, tell
Okay.
everybody what's up with that.
Sure. So Four Thrones, it's been going on for about 5 or 6 years now. I think 2016 is when we started it.
Mhm.
And Nate, you know, Nate is awesome. He's one of the most powerful people I know. And of course, I'm going to say that, right? Because I'm biased, but no, but seriously, like, I never worry about anything because I'm just like, go take care of it, you know?
Oh,
Um,
go take care of it, baby.
So I help them do the monthly grand rites,
Mhm.
and there's 33 grand rites that make up one revolution for Four Thrones, and they are the building blocks that are necessary for a successful ascension in any practice, in any enlightenment. So if you go to his site, natebales.com, he'll have up at the top, he'll have, you know, links for Four Thrones, and you can read about it. Or I think there's another link that says the grand rites, and you can look at all the different types of grand rites that you do.
Mhm.
And so, you know, there are things like, you know, getting a hold of like mental illness or overcoming addiction or prosperity or fulfilling, I don't know, you know, making
There was
yourself
one for astral
more.
senses. There was
Yeah,
one that you guys
there's
did.
one. There was one for helping you to learn and master astral travel, and there's
Mhm.
ones in there that are dedicated to the four elements. He
Yeah.
really does, like, you have to look at all the different rituals we have, and then every year, every revolution, they get tweaked just a little bit, and they just get more refined. So you can join for just the 2 years if you want. Which is like $33 a month if you want to do it that way, or you can immediately become a lifetime member for like $660, I think. I think you end up saving like $400 or $500 or something if you do it like that. But yeah, so but even if you do the monthly payments, then after that you automatically become a Four Thrones lifetime member,
Mhm.
because we want to keep you in there and, you know, keep the rituals going, because they're building blocks, but they're just going to keep getting more refined for you in your life, right? So
Yeah.
it's, you just continue to have these rituals done for the rest of your life, basically.
Yeah, and I'm a member, guys, too. And it's nice to know. It's funny because me and a serial were talking about about it, and there's some big words that Nate likes to use that we have to look up.
Aw.
Like, what does that mean? I don't know.
Yeah, you know, and I really love the way he writes. He does
Yeah,
it.
he's really detailed.
He's very poetic in his
Mm-hmm.
words, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna be a lot of fun writing books with him.
Oh, that's great. You guys writing books. That'd be dope. We
Yeah,
need.
I'm going to write a book called The Glass Ceiling, and
Mm-hmm.
it's about doing trauma work so that you don't plateau out on your ascension. Because when you look at what trauma does to the body and the brain, physiologically, there's a lot of like physiological stuff that has to happen in order for you to successfully get into the crossroads, right? You got to find
Mm-hmm.
a state. You got to be able to go into a trance state. You got to be able to go into a theta state, a theta gamma state, or whatever it is that you need to go into, right? Even with out of body experience and everything, there's a certain level of letting go that you have to do. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to fully get out.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is if you don't do the trauma work, then you hit this glass ceiling. You can't go past because now you have, at a physiological level, you have your body reacting in a way that's not going to allow you to access these parts of the trance state.
Yeah.
So you got to do the trauma work. That's the first lesson in the left-hand path. You got to deal with your shit. That doesn't mean that you have to like go buy a car and then you have to find a, like, yeah, you need all that stuff, right? You need your shelter and everything like that, but deal with your shit, or your demons or the demons will use your weaknesses against you is absolutely 100% true, because what it actually is, it's your own demons. It's the dark aspects of yourself. Everybody talks about the shadow work and Jung and everything like that, but not very many people actually do the work.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like they will bring out the things that you need to deal with so you can deal with it and move
And
forward.
that is the biggest part of, I don't want to say it's a misconception, but it almost is, because when people come in the fourth thrones, we notice a lot of the times people will go through a rough patch. Sometimes we have to let people have a couple of months for free because they're in a rough patch. And we know that. We can recognize when that happens and when that's needed, you know. And that's because when you come into four thrones, they're going to remove your obstacles. They're going to uproot your life to put it on a path that can make everything successful.
Yeah.
And sometimes doing that, it's a rough fucking ride.
Yeah.
And, you know, we try to tell people, like, don't quit, like, just do your best to ride this through, because when you get set back down, I promise you, you'll be in a much better place. And people fight it. They try to fight it. They try to control it instead of just standing back and taking in the lessons and seeing the reasons why things have to be going the way that they are. Sometimes it's the loss of a spouse because that person is abusive, or they're going to end up pulling you down or whatever, you know. I mean, it could be anything. We've seen people's lives fall apart, but then quickly they come back together when they can just ride that wave out.
Yeah.
If you're not dealing with your trauma, and then you're gonna get triggered like crazy, right? And you're just gonna not be able to get past these humps of change, because when you have trauma, change can be a very, very triggering process.
Yeah.
You know, when you
They're
feel
scared.
like
It's
in
the
control.
fear.
Yeah. So
The fear.
it's a glass ceiling, and you know, some people are okay with that. They're all right just staying right underneath there, but sometimes people don't, and in order to do that, they have to work through their trauma. So I encourage everyone to go to therapy.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. And it's funny too, because once you have realized that when you go through these hardships and you come out of it, it's almost like you're going to want more of it, because you're going to realize that the more that you overcome things, the more it becomes easier to overcome them, and you become stronger. And the things that are stopping your ascension, like whatever it is in this life, is only to stop your ascension. Like, it's just a distraction.
Yeah.
And you know, and sometimes it's hard. Like, I've lost a lot of people, I've gone through abuse, addiction, all that kind of stuff. And I know now, even still, it's that this matrix will still try to sneak in and try to get me off very easily, because I still have weaknesses, and I'm still human, and I still have needs and stuff like that. And if I'm not careful, I can repeat it. I'm
Sure.
always aware. You have to be aware of what's not good for you guys. Like, you know, it's like,
Those are the boundaries. You got to trust yourself, and you know, if you got a lot of trauma, you're not going to trust yourself. There's just a lot to it. I'm just a big advocate for it. I saw the change in myself. You know, a couple of years ago, I got really triggered being part of a group, and it took a minute to step back and say, like, where is all this coming from, and why am I reacting this way? Why am I in drill sergeant mode? You know, I shouldn't have to be like this because I'm not in the Army anymore, you know, but that's one of my defenses. That's one of my, but it made me realize that I had some trauma work. You know, it wasn't only until like 2016 that I realized that I had some trauma that I'd been denying. And then, a couple of years after that, that situation happened, and I went to therapy, and I changed, and then I enrolled myself into doctorate school for psychiatrics, which is something I've always loved and always been involved in, like with nursing. So, I saw the power in change and what it can do. And that's what I decided I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, but
Sorry,
anyway, so back to the Four Thrones thing. Yeah. So go to the website. I put it in the thing and check it out and read about it. Nate's amazing. And he will do a consultation with you for however much it is on there. I know it says an hour, but he's always on consultations for like 2-3 hours. So you definitely get your money's worth. You can talk to him about it. He will tell you everything you need to know and answer all your questions.
yeah, he is very, very personable and very nice. And when I had my consultation with him, just very easy to talk to, and you know, it was a great talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. What else? Anybody? Let's look in the comments. Okay, we got. Oh, my necklace was rubbing against the microphone, and it was making. Yeah, so I had to take it off. So it's been 45 minutes. I don't know. You still want to talk, or do you need to go? What do you want to do? We can wrap it up.
Does anybody have any other questions?
Well, if you'd like, I would love to have you on more. Like, I think it'd be good, and we can talk. I think dealing with we could talk about real stuff that's really going to help people, and you know what I mean. Like, um, it's good to hear from women. A lot of this community is mostly males, so when we have like strong female people who've actually gone through stuff and accomplished a lot, it's good to have, because I know I have a lot of women that always message me and they want more advice, and yeah, so I think that's what we're gonna do.
Okay, yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So, and then yeah, that's it really. Enjoy your Friday night.
Oh, I sure will. I think I'm gonna go out tonight. I haven't been out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been out in a long time. I think we're gonna go have dinner tonight.
Oh, okay. Drive your Belial car.
I don't know. Maybe we'll have to see if he feels like taking it out tonight.
Okay. Yeah. Vroom vroom.
I know, right?
That's awesome.
It's
actually,
a nice ride.
That's like Belial's probably like, yeah, like what an awesome license plate.
Well, that's Nate's patron right there. So that guy is, yeah, he's definitely. I definitely can see the Belial in him.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, all right. Okay. Yeah, so we'll do this again whenever you want.
Yeah. All right.
If anybody's got any questions or.
Yeah, and if anybody has any, yeah, you guys can go. Yeah, like you said, if you want to join Four Thrones to know what it's about, Nate Bales has on Instagram, and he has on a website. Just type in Four Thrones.
And then I just want to address this. Do I have a connection with Satan? I mean, I think we all have a connection with Satan, right? Because Satan is really the embodiment of, all that's primal. It's all that's primal. It's the pleasures of the flesh. So anytime that you are, enjoying the mundane, the material, the flesh, the fuck, whatever, the spirits, everybody has a connection with Satan, because that's what he represents. My connection with him is that, and but Lucifer, we all have definitely had connections with Lucifer, right? Basil is my number one. He's
so badass, what's the point?
So my husband has what is it? I think it's a 2008
Ferrari. Is it Ferrari?
Oh, it's a Z06, a Corvette Z06.
Corvette.
It was his favorite car. And this particular year is like the best year or something. So it was whatever he wanted. He told me he always wanted to have a Corvette. And I'm the Ferrari person, though. And so when it came up for sale, I said, please buy it. You're almost 40. Please buy it. So he did. So that's
nice. And then she got, then there's a license plate that says Belial.
Yeah, his license plate says Belial. And then on that car, and then on his truck, it's abbreviated as What Will Satan Do? I think Four Thrones is going to start doing some stuff. I told Nate that I want to do some T-shirts like that, and I'm trying to get some custom made pint glasses and stuff like that for the members. Our 6-year anniversary, I think, is coming up, and I'm trying to do something special for the members, whether it's a coin or some pint glasses or shot glasses or something. So
Yeah, that'd be really nice to have if you guys had custom made things to give to members who
yeah,
have been there for a long time.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So that should be coming. But
Okay.
all right.
All
Well,
right.
I will see you guys next time.
Yeah,
And
this was
I love
awesome.
this. This is so much fun. We do it again.
Yes, we will. All
Okay.
right. Peace out, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye.